Now I think with this announcement, we are making this dream reality.
Many of your medicines, we know from the COVID vaccine, very effective, very welcome. The logistics around that
vaccine were not straightforward because of the new technology.
You know, I was just thinking, so I'm going to take up the gentleman from Rhode Island's challenge. He just said that there's really not any significant constitutional issue at stake whatsoever, that the Constitution doesn't prohibit this. It seems to me that you'd have to know, wouldn't you? I mean, I looked at the majority guidance, staff guidance on this, and it has this one sentence about talking about some states having adopted bans on 18 to 20-year-olds.
If the gentleman will yield, I'm happy to answer that.
At your time. Let me speak to it for a minute so I can thicken the plot. Just a minute, Mr. Cicilline. You said that, or the majority guidance says, yet these laws, speaking of bans in some states on semi-automatic rifles being banned to 18 to 20-year-olds, so yet these laws have been challenged in the federal courts. They referenced 2 cases, didn't say anything else about it. Well, I decided to read them. And so the Jones versus Bonta case from the 9th Circuit, one of the most liberal circuits in the country, federal case, just came down last month that said California's ban on the sale of centerfire of semi-automatic rifles to 18 to 20-year-olds violates the Constitution. It says that it goes through this long analysis of the history of the Second Amendment and says those rights to self-defense at the core of the Second Amendment, that 18 to 20-year-olds are covered by that right. They say, just like virtually every other, in fact, I think every other right in the Bill of Rights applies to 18 to 20-year-olds. And there's another case. There's a case from the 4th Circuit, from where I come from. It was vacated for mootness after being issued, but it was an analysis of the federal ban on sales of handguns to 18 to 20-year-olds. And it said, this came to the same conclusion, that the Second Amendment applies. And even the dissenting judge there said, here the majority has done careful historical research and has assembled persuasive evidence that young adults aged 18 to 20 had Second Amendment rights at the time the amendment was ratified. So when we undertake to do something, in the words of the gentlelady from Texas, isn't it incumbent on the House Judiciary Committee to consider, to evaluate what the Constitution allows Congress to do consistent with the supreme law of the land? So at least 2 parts of this proposed hodgepodge raise questions about constitutionality. The ban on the sale of semi-automatic rifles and shotguns to 18 to 20-year-olds, and also the provision about gun storage at home. Heller, by the United States Supreme Court, spoke to that. Why would there be no analysis or no consideration? But there's a willingness to just ram through this package, and the answer is, we don't have any patience for you if you're objecting. The voices are raised, the accusations are made, Republicans are complicit. I can tell you this, and let me be clear, you are not going to bully your way into stripping Americans of fundamental rights. And it also, unfortunately, it follows a pattern that we've discussed before. Just a couple of weeks ago, you ran through a bill concerning amicus briefs in the Supreme Court that would require the disclosure of charitable organization donors in violation of their First Amendment rights of association. I pointed it out then, that you had attempted to do, the same party had attempted to do the same thing in 1958 in the NAACP case in Alabama. That you did the same thing, not coincidentally, in California, since we're talking about the California, the 9th Circuit decision. In another case involving Mr. Bonta, the Attorney General out there, just last year, you just blundered right over that because you don't care. You're cavalier about the leak of the draft opinion from the Supreme Court. You want to pack the Supreme Court. If
the gentleman will yield, I'm happy to answer your question.
No, I think I've answered the question, but I'd be glad
not
to
accurately.
You're in the disregard what the 9th Circuit has said the law of the land
I'm actually bound by the Supreme Court of the United States, and I'd like to read the quote to you if you'll allow me, since you raised the question.
Look, I think the issue is what that 9th Circuit case said on the subject.
The United States Supreme Court takes precedence over the 9th Circuit.
I don't yield. You'll have plenty of time.
It's a great quote.
Your allies form mobs outside justices' homes. Yeah. You say you've got to figure out something else other than stripping people of their constitutional rights. We've got to figure out something else, assuming that the majority entertains a discussion. But you cannot, the courts have made it pretty clear, you cannot deprive young adults any more than the remainder of Americans of their core Second Amendment right to self-defense by the purchase and possession of weapons that are in common use and prevalent. And I'll say one, well, I'm out of time.